And right now, ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes you will watch the Ukrainian premiere of the documentary film More Than Honey by Markus Imhof. This movie is supported by the Ukraine of course, but the embassy in Ukraine of Switzerland. And right now, please welcome on the stage plenipotentiary ambassador of the Swiss Confederation in Ukraine, Mr. Christian Schonenberger. About this movie, about its mission. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Yes. Excellencies, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's a big pleasure and honor for me to be here with you today at the opening of this APIMONDIA Congress. Humans and bees have lived in cooperation and synergy for a long time. Thousands of years, humans have profited from this intricate link they had established with bees, or bees had established with them. And it is of utmost importance that this link should be preserved and re-established. As President Ratia said earlier, and also the scientific committee, there's quite some problems that we have to face when it comes to this synergy between bees and human beings. And I think it is high time that the synergy and the cooperation and the interdependence is re-established. I'm very happy that your Congress is here to address these pressing issues. And I would be very happy if your Congress could find first of all, very good results. Science is key in this issue. We all need to know more about the links between bees, food, human beings. And I also hope that you will have very open debates which will lead to outcomes, to tangible, active outcomes. Let me just make a link to the Millennium Development Goals. The world, the United Nations are now preparing to prolong these very important development goals. And I personally, not being a specialist of bees, can hardly see how these important development goals can be reached without the impact of bees. Bees have such an important role to play in nature that they cannot be left out of any reasonable development strategy. Now, what is also very important is that the debate that you will have here is not limited to specialists. It is very important that the world at large knows about the important contributions by bees, by beekeepers, by the bee industry, but also the high impact that bees have on our food. So I'm very, very glad to welcome here Mr. Imhof. He's here in the second row. He's the director of a film, of the film More Than Honey. And I think the title is very well chosen. Bees and beekeeping is about much, much more than just honey. It is about food, it's about culture, it is about food security, it is about development. So I think we need to see the film to be aware and to be in the right mindset for the discussions that we will have in the next days. I thank you very much for your interest in that film, and Mr. Imhof will be around after the film. There will be a possibility to discuss with him, and if you don't have time tonight, Mr. Imhof will be around tomorrow. And he can be addressed by just anybody of you. Thank you very much.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for your words and for your support. As you said, after the screening of the film, everybody will be able to communicate with the authors of the film. And right now, I would like to invite you to take a seat and just to wish you to enjoy this wonderful film, More Than Honey. Welcome Mr. Markus Imhof and Walter Haefeker. The floor is yours. And ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to ask your questions or to listen or whatever may be said. So probably a few words about the documentary film. What was the idea? Who was the author of the idea? Why is it so important to bring this information to people, to audience? And do you plan to show this movie probably for a wider audience?
As you have seen, it's a family story. My grandfather was a beekeeper, my daughter and my son-in-law. We signed this when the bees started dying all over the world. It was becoming more than a family story, so this was the reason I made this film. Normally I work with actors, and I can tell you it's much easier to work with actors than with bees in front of the camera. We have worked over 5 years on the film, and the film is shown in about 30 countries now. I hope we find a distributor in the Ukraine as well, so that the film can be seen here as well.
If you have any questions, there is a microphone over here. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
I would like to thank you for this film. And in your opinion, which bigger problem, the human or the pesticide on the bees?
The main problem is our relation to nature. So pesticide is just one of our, we try to control everything, and if the agriculture becomes more industrialized, it's a system, a totalitarian system, which needs a very totalitarian police, and these are the pesticides. So the more we want to control, the more we destroy. And the United Nations Food Report said that we cannot feed the world if we go on in this industrialized way of agriculture. So Walter Haefeker is the president of the European Beekeeper Association.
Yes, I just want to clarify one thing. I cannot claim to be a co-author of this film. I did just a minor part in maybe helping a little bit with the research. But we have been doing events like this together because from the beekeeper's perspective, this film is not very flattering to the beekeeping sector. We as beekeepers are used to having wonderful romantic films about the little beekeeper in the neighborhood. Okay? But I think this film, because what I like about it is that Markus doesn't turn the camera off. When he sees something interesting, he keeps going. So the film allows us to look at ourselves as beekeepers more closely. And you need to understand a few things about the film and what's being shown there to get an answer to the question. For example, the romantic, initially it looks like the romantic beekeeper in Switzerland is doing everything right. He's out there in the mountains, there are no pesticides, and then things go horribly wrong. And what you need to know, I'm not sure if there are any Swiss beekeepers in the audience, what is happening to him is happening all over Switzerland, because there is, and not around Switzerland, interestingly enough. This is European Foulbrood, and they have a breeding program trying to control, as humans, where the bees is heading, and it looks like this breeding program has resulted in the bees being highly susceptible to European Foulbrood. while in the neighboring countries, Austria, Germany, France, you don't have this problem. So this is actually a good example of the way we relate to the bees and what we bring to the bees is not without problems. When you look at the American beekeeper, he has faced a lot of criticism. A lot of Europeans have seen the way he keeps bees, and he got hate mail because of it. But here you have to understand that he is trying to keep bees in a much more hostile environment, in a different economic environment where the main product is pollination and not honey. And it is not right, to pass judgment on this beekeeper. I think it's very good that he was very honest about showing what he does, why he does it, how he thinks about his business. And I think many of us that have the luxury of keeping bees in another environment would have to make many of the same choices to stay in that business or get out of it.
Thank you.
No, I'll go back with that.
We have another question. Yes, please.
Yes, The Truth Hurts. It's a painful but beautiful film. Thank you. You missed one thing, I feel, and that is the 1 year queen. The breeding in California has created 1 year queens so that they don't have to work in the winter to keep them over. And that's the coolest of all.
I've heard sometime they change the queens even twice a year. We have shot a scene about the queens coming in with FedEx, and it's on the DVD, on the bonus material. You see this queen. We had just, we worked 5 years, but we had 90 minutes for the film. So.
Thank you. And another question. Yes, please.
I thought it was an amazing film, and particularly seeing the Queen being made together, I think it was amazing. I'd just like to know where some of these things took place. I know you mentioned that the Falcon was in Switzerland, but I wasn't quite sure where the lady was. Was it Austria or where was she? It would be nice just to know that in the film. And also, I found some of the captions, translated captions, were a bit too fast. But it was a marvelous film. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the ladies, the two ladies are from Austria. The Swiss kid, also the grandfather of Heidi is in Switzerland, and Professor Menzel is in Berlin, and Miller I've seen in California, and North Dakota, and in Arizona, Fred Herring, the Chinese without bees, and then my family in Australia. Of course, the subtitles, it was not the perfect screening, I'm sorry, because it's not the screening room here, so normally you have more, you see the subtitles more precisely to read them. But we have also an English version of the film, which will come out on DVD in November. And in Great Britain there's even an English version in the cinema.
Is it possible to purchase a copy of the film? And where from?
From where are you coming?
England.
So you have, it's Eureka film, Eureka, like good and Eureka. The film is in the cinemas now in the United Kingdom, and then half a year later it will come out in DVDs. And we have also made a book. It's in German and in French, and it will come out in English as well. So all the material you have not in the film, you can all the background material you can find in the book.
But don't feel bad that you can't buy the DVD yet, because I think the shots, the movie is so beautiful that it's worth seeing it in the cinema.
I always wanted the bees being bigger than men. If you go to a theater, there it happens.
I want to say it's very nice film, beautiful film. I like this film. And I want to ask you any questions. What do you think about environmental pollution? Have you any films about environmental pollution? Have you any films?
You mean if I made a film about the pollution?
Yes.
It is already a film about pollution in a certain way.
And
You know, we are discussing neonicotinoids, which are the most dangerous pesticides, but this pesticide you see in the film, nobody even speaks about it. And we are going, if the bees are healthier in towns, where the pollution of the cars seems to be less dangerous for bees, but we go to have a walk on weekends with our families in the countryside, where it's more dangerous for bees, so maybe also for us.
And second question, please. What areas did you make your films in USA? Which region? Which region?
The almond is in California, so 2/3 of all the honeybees are coming together in February in California, and then they travel north to the Canadian border, and there is the honey production.
Thank you.
And then the so-called killer bees, the African bees, they are in Arizona.
The next question, please. Yes, please, to the microphone.
My name is Walter Haefeker. I am from Bangladesh. I am the president of the Bangladesh Beekeepers Association. I came to Mondia. Seeing this film, I was really excited to know how you plan that. Film is so good and so educated, and it can teach many of the underdeveloped countries like Bangladesh also. And I would like to welcome you to Bangladesh and show us some of the things how can develop the country's economy and the purpose employment. And beekeeping, so far I understand, is also a source of very positive labor, and we can teach the Bangladeshi workers very quickly, and they can learn English and they can do their job very quickly. And I would like to have exclusive appointment with you, and thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm traveling around the film already a lot, but I was never in Bangladesh, so give me your address.
A more technical question. How did you succeed to film the making of the Queen in the air?
This was the most difficult goal for us. We had two teams, one team for the human science with 5 people, and one team for the bees with 10 people. And this bee macro team traveled with us, and sometimes we had a bee studio in Vienna, where we had our actor bees, 15 hives of different races. But this mating we have also shot in Austria. We knew where the drones were flying. And there we have constructed a tower, a photo tower, and with a meteorological balloon on which we have applied the smell of bees. We have guided the drones from 30 meters to our level of 10 meters and have worked on this tower for 10 days for 36 seconds of work. And the camera cost 1,400 euros a day for rent. So you can get nervous if the laugh isn't happening.
Well, first, my name is Walter Haefeker. I'm the president of the Asian Cultural Association and also the author of Asian Movies that published from Harvard University Press. It's really an amazing film. I really appreciate it. When you took the film in California, and especially in follows relation that you said in the film. Is that a few years ago? I would like to ask you about the CCD in telephony. CCD, huh? Is the last month the Time magazine, have a cover, the front cover of the book, and talking about the world without bees. What's your opinion, or what's your idea about the CCD in the California when you went there? Is that happening already?
It's happening very heavily in California. We have shot in California, and it is 2 years back now. And maybe you know the background.
Well, what is very interesting, when you talk about CCD, some people are even questioning whether this is a disease or just a description of a simply supply and demand tells you that there's something seriously wrong and not getting better.
Thank you. Well, I think first when I watched the film, I thought when you were talking about the pesticide and effect on the brain, of the bees, because now by the paper, by the article of the Times magazine last month, now the suspect is affected by the nicotine pesticide. Well, I would like to, because that I said I'm author the book of ancient animals. So I would like to invite you also to go to Thailand. I am from Thailand. Even I'm the president of Asian Agriculture Association. But my native is Thailand, and I also practice for New Zealand. I'm very glad to invite you to Thailand and make a film of Asian hunters. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just a piece of information, there's not just Time magazine, but the European Union just went through a very deliberate process of looking at all the available research to decide whether it's necessary to ban certain neonicotinoids. And all the available science was taken into account at the European level, and all the member states of the European Union voted on the question whether there should be a ban or not. And I think the fact that the European Union has gone through this process and has decided to institute a 2-year ban should be taken into account when you're looking at this question in other regions of the world.
Okay, please.
Hello, dear gentlemen.
In the next few days, we have a meeting.
I'm Christoph, I'm from Belgium, and last year was the first time that I saw the film, and I was very impressed. But my question is, can you tell a little bit more about the reason that you made the film, and also what you think that good agriculture is? Because in the film it's not clear hobbyist. He was a good agriculturist, and we saw also a lot of professionals. And yes, that's my question.
For me, if I answer first the second question, for me the best beekeeper in the film is Fred Perry. He is forced to be very careful with his bees, because otherwise they treat him badly. So, if you see how he cares when he puts the box on the truck, are there some bees? No, so this is the attitude. If you have this attitude with your bees, then you are working together with bees. And of course, it's because he is working with so-called killer bees, it doesn't come in your mind that he could be the best beekeeper. But let him work with any bees, with your bees. He can treat them like this. There is a nice scene in the bonus material of the DVD as well. We have just filmed him, and there is a bee flying around him. And he is observing her, and I asked her, is she not going to sting you? And it's just a dialogue between him and me.
Yes, it hurts me to see what professions that
To the first part of your question, the bees are a symbol of something else. You can understand a lot of things if you study the bees and how we treat the bees. I don't know if you have seen the film Modern Times of Charlie Chaplin. You see Charlie Chaplin working in a factory and running behind the machine and on the how do you call it? Assembly line. So that's the way we are treating nature, and it's just a symbol about something. We can think about much more things if we are concentrating on these bees, but we can translate it in other levels as well.
Thank you very much.
The question of who is a good beekeeper or a bad beekeeper is not as simple as that, because you have to take the circumstances into account. And the film also illustrates a very important point. A lot of it is about pollination. The pollination service in California, the manual pollination in China. And actually, in an intact landscape, there are studies, for example, by Claire Clement about that. There are so many native pollinators, native bees, that the honeybees that we're managing are just a part of an overall spectrum of pollinators. And as a beekeeper in such an environment, you can work a certain way. The managed bees that are being trucked around are essentially far on the other end of the spectrum. There's a landscape that has no native pollinators left. It's completely hostile. It's a green or sometimes a flowering desert. The last way to bring in pollination or managed bees before you have to use migrant laborers, and do it yourself. But if you have an agriculture that creates these kinds of landscapes, then this agriculture will have demand for the type of beekeeping that can still bring pollination in there. So I would encourage you not to quickly pass judgment, on beekeepers in different environments, and think about, is there a chance to be, a little hobbyist in this kind of landscape?
Thank you. I'm coming from the United Republic of Tanzania. I'm the CEO of the ministry, the government ministry, which is responsible for the beekeeping and the forestry. Your film is really quite moving. It shows how passionate you are with bees. And it's a masterpiece, frankly speaking. It's a tool which can be used actually to teach various people all over the world. So what I want to ask you, next year Tanzania is going to host APIMONDIA Africa, sometimes in November. So we'd like to extend our invitation to you to come and do two things. One, to show this film. But of course, the translation down there will be written in Swahili, so that our fellow countrymen can understand what the explanation is all about. But two, if you can come and make a film on the African bees, which are rampant in Tanzania and in So, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Don't run away, we will speak about the project.
Thank you so much.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this film. It was very important for all of us. And we are from Brazil, and we work for more than 30 years with Africanized beasts. And we would like to say that we appreciate your perception of these beasts and what I see during these years is that these bees are friendly and they are teaching us to find balance between man and nature. So thank you very much, and we would like to invite you to Brazil to also make a movie with us.
Thank you. The film is going to be shown in Brazil in the cinema as well. So it was already shown. I got a prize in Brazil.
Yes, please.
But I'm very happy that you can work with these Africanized bees, because everybody says it's just a danger, and you are. How many years you have worked with African bees? 3 years, and you're still alive. You see, it's not healthy for a bee if the bee doesn't sting. It's just a good thing for the beekeeper. So let the bee defend themselves, so they will defend themselves against diseases as well.
And the next question, please.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that was a real eye-opener about the Africanized bees. But my question is just a curiosity. In the film following the scenes in the Californian almond pollinator, there was a colony that was died out due to CCD, and then there was another colony where there was a mass of dead bees. What was the problem there?
This was after the transportation, when when they have traveled. The river says if you can cook a truckload of bees in 2 hours if you are not careful. It's very dangerous. If you are blocked in a traffic jam, you can kill all your bees in 2 hours. And the stress, the diseases, and the pesticides, and all this together makes that they are dying.
So the whole hive just died?
No, it's just this. We had not enough time to show it. You see all the hives turn up vertical are dead. And there, he says there are 90 or 91 out of 250 coming in are dead.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andresa. I'm a researcher from Brazil also. And I'm not a researcher of bees, it's but apitherapy. And I'm surprised with the term killer bees for Africanized Brazilian bees, because like my colleague told, we not have problems with our bees. We have healthier bees. We don't need to apply nothing. No antibiotics, no pesticides, and we have high productivity, and it's not killer bees, it's friendly bees for us, and we produce natural bee products for the world.
I'm happy you're making publicity for them, because if I speak I can tell you, when I started making the film, I didn't even know that the so-called killer bees I knew from the Cold War films didn't make any honey. And at the APIMONDIA in Montpellier, I met Professor Gonzalez, and I've learned in APIMONDIA, and this was becoming the end of my film. So it's a very interesting place, APIMONDIA.
But you need to know that the term killer bees was not introduced through this film, but basically when they start arriving in the US, they there was a lot of press attention and a lot of sensational reporting. And so during that time, the term killer bee was, I think there was even a Hollywood movie, Attack of the Killer Bees, you know, that was done.
It's dangerous foreign things coming, sneaking through the wall of the border. They are making now, they will make a remake of the film The Swarm. It's one of the most successful Kill Bee movies, and I've heard they want to make a new film. So maybe we can discuss privately outside that we close the session here. What do you think?
Well, I think that you should all remember these two faces, and if you come up with some other comments or questions later on, you can catch this wonderful man. Thank you very much for your great job, for sharing this experience with us. Mr. Imhof and Mr. Haefeker, please remember them. And if you let me summarize, first thing is that the movie was really great, and thank you for it once again. And the next summary, number 2, is that there are so much more bees in the world that you have to film. In Africa and Latin America, so good luck, and we'll hope to see your next film at the next Congress. And for now, thank you once again very much. Thank you all dear guests. I wish you to enjoy the Congress, all the events included into the Congress, and enjoy the Ukrainian night tonight. Thank you very much, and goodbye.